than current, so we may repurpose spaces in those buildings. So we're continuing to look at those things. And then the last one is to address the needs in departments and programs that are impacted by the demo at the high school annex, and obviously any construction impact during that year. So we want to address those things. Mark's going to talk you through kind of the site plan and the basic plans that we've kind of landed on. You all received 5 schemes last Friday, and this is very similar to C, although we've had two meetings and 10, 15 phone calls in the last 4 days to revamp that, and really had some good meetings to kind of narrow down to this one basic footprint, and he'll give you some of the details on that.
Thank you very much for allowing us to come back. It's always fun to get working on projects down in Rolla, so I appreciate that. And as Kelly had indicated, we are down to 1 scheme. So we've been going through a number of different schemes, but I think we've really kind of honed in on the best use of the space and campus, looking forward to also a potential for an auditorium. So we've tried to master plan that, and that's what this slide here kind of indicates, to kind of give you an orientation of the entire campus. So to the west, where you'll see that brown area, that is where the addition would be. To the west, you've got 10th Street to the top of the page, and Cedar Street to the left. So you can see the brown, and then we've shaded in a white area that kind of identifies where a potential auditorium would go. We haven't given a lot of thought to that. That's basically a plan that identifies about 800 seats, a stage, a scene shop, and really, for the most part, all the amenities, dressing rooms and things of that nature, but not a lot of thought, or we've not met with any committees, just so that's understood that it's just basically a footprint. We try to move that around there, so we at least had some ideas on where that would go. So I'm going to go on to the next page, which then zeroes in a little bit more, and now your north is to the left. So for orientation purposes, the blue represents the existing building, and the area where the triangle is, that's the existing entrance as you come into the facility. We're still showing the auditorium there to the north, and then west, I'm sorry, to the west. Yes, to the west, I'm sorry. And then you can kind of see we're trying to, what we've been doing is, as we lay these spaces out, one of the critical things that we look at as we're going into the plans is trying to identify what's going to be the best elevations, because we've got the elevation of the office area where you come in, and it slopes down. So we were looking at what elevations we wanted to have as our main level. And first, you might have seen some sketches where we were having a ramp down to the practice gym, but the more we got into it, we think it's necessary to ramp up to the school, because we got to work with the grade as we go to the south as we get into the parking lot. So that's really a critical factor there. So I think we're feeling pretty good about how we transition in, because we bring it down and we're not fighting the grades as much. And as we get into the elevations and start cutting sections, we'll start to see how the area around the auditorium will work into our plan.
So the main footprint here is the level of the practice gym.
Okay. Correct. The brown, yeah. Except, and you'll see in the next, I'll take you through. So the next slide here. Now what we'll do, we're going to walk away from the auditorium. You can see we master planned for it, but now you can see a reference point where the annex is. Just so you have those dashed lines there represents the annex, so you can kind of see how far and how close we're coming out of the to the south. But when you come out of the existing building, the blue represents some renovation areas which would take place turn into some classrooms and some special ed, and we'll leave the data connections in the existing location where they currently are. You got a stairwell right next to it, and then you'll come out and you go down some steps or a ramp to get about 2'6" down to that level, and then you'll have a bank of restrooms, and then also on that east corridor, you'll have another classroom 10, and then you'll have a boiler room that will go down about 4 feet to get an access to a boiler room that is on the lower elevation.
Right.
So then as you go to the west, then you'll have your 6 classrooms in the middle, classrooms 1, 2, and 3. Classroom 7, 8, and 9, as you'll see on the ramp, you'll start to go back down to try to hit these grades as we go to the south at the administration area. That brings you back to the new main entrance coming into the building. So you'll have 7, 8, and 9, and then the administration, along with classroom 10, will be about 1'10" lower, so you'll go up that ramp. But as you come into the main entrance, all the doors then, there'll be a main entrance that you'll come in. There'll be other doors for egress and things of that nature out, but those will be locked down. So your main traffic has got to be in the main entrance. There'll be corridor doors or vestibule doors that'll lock that you have to come in and go into the office, and then you'll be let go on in. But obviously during the major flow of the kids coming in, those will be open to come in. I really think, and then the wrestling room to the back behind the practice gym, that's probably one area we're still kind of tweaking and looking at. We originally had it lined up along the practice gym, but as we're doing it, some of the conversation that came out from some of the committee meetings was to be able to put 2 wrestling mats in there, and that won't go along that length.
Oh.
So we're still looking at that, to possibly look at maybe moving the office and the storage room around to make that happen. Because we're concerned about how far we start to get into the grade there, but that's the one area I think we'll be tweaking, and as we go through it, we'll be still looking and massaging the floor elevations as we come in.
You'll notice
Yes, sir.
classroom 11, which the number's a little hard to see on your print. It's the classroom that, part of it's the renovated old office,
Right.
Jim Pritchett's office, the principal's office.
Oh,
That
okay.
classroom,
It's a
one of the
good-sized
requests.
classroom. It's a
one-
good-sized
Yeah,
classroom.
it's, currently, we're looking at designing it kind of like a lecture, where 2 classrooms could come in for guest speaker, maybe a setting not exactly like this, but some type, maybe 2 stair-step type room with a presentation area at the bottom. We've got some elevations there that are kind of tough to deal with anyway, so some of the old existing floor may have to come out anyway, and so that was one of the requests that the high school administration asked for. They were looking at biomedical classes, maybe, if you're going to have 2 or 3 of those classes come together for a guest
Right.
speaker. We currently don't have that type of space in our high school. So that's room 11 there. So
That's nice.
the 3 rooms that are blue to the east, those are currently 2 rooms. One was the business room, one's used to be a typing room.
Right.
They're fairly large, and so on this plan, we're taking those 2, and that's where we gain the 12th room. We turn 2 into 3. Still good-sized rooms, as you can tell. I think all 3 of them are a little over 850 square feet, something like that, each room. So across the hallway, the actual rooms across the old hallway, up above where it says office, you can tell those rooms are actually smaller than the thirds. So we didn't want to make those too small. Times have changed, and classrooms have changed, and demands have changed a little bit, so.
So the SPED area, am I seeing this right, is that currently where the attendance secretary office
That
is?
is, and
Okay.
Josh Smith's office
Okay.
there. So that helps you orient there.
Okay.
There's,
One thing back to that room 11, if it's not a big deal, the bigger deal is that blue triangle area, looking at if we're gonna take that floor out and be able to slope it if that becomes if that's a desire. And then also the footings along the existing practice gym. We may have to build in a wall to bring it up because we don't want to get into the footings, or maybe it's not. And then also putting in a door on that lower elevation for handicap accessibility.
Right,
So
right.
it would have access from the top and the bottom.
But really, a larger room like that could often, I mean, if you switch the orientation, it could slope down to where the speaker would be. I mean, that would be a natural slope in a classroom,
Well,
a large
the
classroom.
brown is lower than the blue.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is,
Yeah.
it may be, there may be too much difference in grade there.
Okay,
May-
yeah.
We haven't researched that one yet. This is
Sure.
really just initial base
Refresh.
footprint.
You're gonna have to have 2 entrances into that anyway,
Correct.
code-wise.
Exactly.
Those would
Right.
be over 1,000 square feet, so we would have to have 2 entrances. But it's just whether it all works out as far as the elevations.
And currently it does, because it's going out from into the existing corridor, but it would work out even better to have another door in the brown area to enter in from a lower elevation. But it was just another thing that came up during one of the meetings, and I believe we have a good chance of making that work.
Yeah, I like the idea of a bigger classroom there for those
Yeah.
kind of things.
Currently-
So you've got a bunch of grade changes inside the building, but the exterior is gonna look, we're not gonna,
That's what.
the idea is that it's gonna look consistent
Correct.
from the outside, yeah.
Correct. The next step now, now that we've got it basically honed in on a plan, we'll start cutting sections. And I think we'll have some we're looking at probably the administration and as you can see, to the west, at that main entrance, we'd like to bring in glass along
Yeah,
that whole
yeah.
entire western wall, just to kind of, as you come into the campus, that is where the main
Yeah,
entrance
I
is.
like
Yeah.
that.
And the challenge right now is how we enter from the top of the hill, from Cedar Street to get
Yeah,
down to
yeah.
it. And I think we can, but that one area right there might be an area we want to just bring up and bring that
Right.
canopy up to be able to identify or make that
Yeah,
entrance.
that would be nice.
Visible, but.
So last year when we were looking at various plans, the one plan that was out here had the classrooms kind of just along the west side of the, and was it two floors?
It
What we
was
were looking
on
at?
The one that ran along the renovated, the blue part? Is
Yeah.
that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
So it ran north-south?
Yeah.
That one did not have 12 classrooms. We weren't
Okay.
gaining 12 classrooms.
Okay.
We were gaining 10. And with a little more research, we felt like we need 12.
12.
If we can do it within budget, which up earlier in one of the earlier slides, we're still falling in that range that we built into the budget, somewhere between 5.2, $6.2 million for this.
I think we get as many classrooms now
Yep.
within the budget as we can.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
So-
good.
And,
So this is a net gain of 12.
right.
How does it affect existing parking, and would we add any parking there where the auditorium might be someday?
That's something we'll start to look at, because what we want to try to do is, we want to plan for the auditorium, but we don't want to spend a lot of money right now that's not necessary for the auditorium. So a couple of things is trying to plan for an appropriate size boiler room, plan for trying to deal with any sanitary or stormwater that's in that area to address that. And then also try not to put a lot of parking where we're gonna have to tear out.
Right.
But we are looking at some parking there to the west.
I just pulled this slide back
Yeah.
up, Jamie. There's some parking to the north of the wrestling room, just a little, kind of an alley there that could be considered. Now, these are all just tentative.
Sure.
Obviously, it has to do with budget as well, but you can kind of tell next to Cedar Street, parking being designed close to Cedar Street, which doesn't exist now. Currently, that's green space. And then Mark hasn't, and Aubrey haven't drawn anything in underneath that auditorium right now. It's just, we've left it blank. One thing that I did want you to notice, that the new brown addition does not come out even to the, currently where the annex sits. The wall farthest to the south of the annex is right where it says main entry. You see that dotted line there? So we're actually, one of my concerns, and I know the high school was concerned about eating up a bunch of student parking by this addition, and actually, we're not moving out into that at all, so it doesn't look that way.
And quite frankly, we've got room, I mean, the chat lot over towards the baseball field is only half full most days. So we can accommodate some shift in student parking.
Right. And the one thing what we're trying to do is keep that main drive through there. We talked early on about maybe moving that drive a little bit. What we're trying to do is stay out of doing a lot of asphalt, a lot of parking, a lot of things that aren't necessary. We'll have to address some drainage issues there, most likely, just because we're coming down. A lot of watershed will come off that real side there, so we'll address that. But by keeping it back, and also having some drop-off area and some gathering space, along with possibly even some green space out there in the front there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Keith, I know you sometimes mention that out, if you'll notice south of the
Yeah, I like
addition
that.
there, he's kind of got the green
Yeah.
space there, so to try to address that. Also, just so you know, up at Cedar Street, where we have the pond on the entrance, we've discussed trying to resolve that. Too, I've talked to the city and didn't realize it, Cedar Street has no storm drains in it. So if we solve that problem, it'll be by somehow allowing that water to come onto us. And so, obviously, we have to figure out how to deal with that.
Or get the
Now's-
city to put a storm
Well,
down
now's a
Cedar
good
Street.
time. They've offered to, you know, the city's always been good with us and offered to share cost and those kind of things, so we're working through that, just so you know. I know some people out in the public talk about that spot and wonder why there's water there, so we'll try to address that as well.
Where do you envision the parent pickup, like after school? Because that sometimes is quite a line. How do you envision
yeah.
that flow?
The high school's not as bad, obviously, as the other buildings, but there will still be some type of circle drive on the Cedar side, Greg.
Okay.
You know, the exact design's not there, but
Sure.
we'll maintain some type of circle on that side, obviously, since that's one of the reasons why we wanted to wrap the main entrance around on the Cedar Street side as well, to where it's the front of the building, whether you're over on 7th or whether you're on Cedar. It's going to look like the front of the building by wrapping it on that corner. And if you remember some of the old drawings, the administration was farther to the east in this plan or farther to the north on the plan, and really putting it on that corner, I think, serves a couple of purposes.
Greg brings up a good point, because you're adding 300 to 350 non-drivers to this
Right.
building.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're,
It's gonna operate a little different.
Yeah.
it is.
And you got all the student drivers that are there.
Correct. So we're gonna, parking lot's an issue. We needed to get a footprint first, and then we'll figure out the flow around it, but,
Yeah.
At this point, you know, moving forward, at this point, we wanted to at least have a layout where an auditorium worked. And now.
I think that's good that we master plan that. I mean, yeah, we
There's
can't,
nothing to say that that configuration won't change or
Sure.
something, but there at least was some thought process that did take place. Even the fact that,
I don't know if they pick you up at that.
even the fact on that, along the west side where you see the corridor, we even at the last minute kind of moved that around, so that could potentially be the corridor for the lobby coming in on the auditorium, which helped contain or condense that footprint a little bit. So now that we feel pretty comfortable about that, now we can take that off and start looking at the Cedar Street and the connections and where we may put in, maybe we, like, what you can see that parking along Cedar Street, that's outside of where the auditorium would be, but then we can look at another loop in there for the potential, some more parking that maybe does come out. But at least you've got the gravel base there for building on and taking out. But it, then it becomes how much you want to put in to lose at a later date. But
So you're, while we're on this plan, you're showing the auditorium there. it's a ways away from the building, so I'm assuming that you're choosing not to put any foundations or in, that would-
Correct, correct.
so you wouldn't be impacting the building foundations that we're
When
going
we're
to put
doing-
in.
No.
So you'd step away from those to minimize the current cost.
Exactly. Matter of fact, the thought was also on that canopy, because when we go up with that auditorium, it's going to be it's going to be a higher building. So we would need to design those bar joists to handle the snow load in the future, along with maybe even taking those footings down a little bit deeper so we'd have to underpin them and things of that nature. But that's a really good point.